My name is Debbie Fortune, and I'm a paramedic. I live and work in Cape Breton. I wanted to be a paramedic as it seemed like an exciting career, a chance to help people and to serve my community. I love my job. It's very rewarding. I get to make a difference in people's lives, and it provides me with balance so that I can care for and spend time with my family. It's also where I met my husband, Jason. He, too, was a paramedic. Jason worked his last shift in May of 2014. We didn't know it at the time, of course, but looking back, we now realize it had been coming to this for a very long time. As I look back, it seems incredible and perhaps a little ironic that for Jason, it took a ride in the back of an ambulance being tended to by his co-workers for us to realize we needed help. He remembers that ride. He was terrified that he was going to die. He thought he was having a heart attack. But in the emergency room, we were shocked when the doctor told us that what he had suffered was, in fact, a panic attack. A panic attack. Paramedics don't panic. In our line of work, we are the eye of the storm. Everything around us may be chaos, but we must remain composed. After that first panic attack, we started the process of seeking help, getting a diagnosis, and applying for benefits. That's what you do when something happens. You figure things out. You fix it. It took months for him to be diagnosed with PTSD and even longer to start treatment with a psychologist. Accessing WCB benefits took a long time too. And in the meantime, Jason suffered with his symptoms, and we, my 3 children and I, suffered right alongside him. Jason had been a paramedic for nearly 19 years, and he loved his profession. It was part of his identity. Time and again during his treatment, he would admit to feeling like he had failed in his duties and failed us, his family. Not for 1 minute did I judge him, nor blame him. But the truth was, we were drowning emotionally and financially. The whole situation continued to build. The symptoms and the guilt and the stress became overwhelming. Inevitably, we separated. Jason was not getting better. We felt very alone in our struggle. I tried to understand what he was going through, to advocate for him and to help him recover. But we had no idea how to navigate, and there was very little expertise or resources in Cape Breton. I made the heartbreaking decision that continuing as we were was no longer in the best interests of our 3 children. Finally, in 2016, Jason started receiving the therapy he needed. I'm happy to say the start of his therapy was also the beginning of our reconciliation. Thankfully, we were able to participate in 2 programs offered by an organization called Wounded Warriors. These resources are actually linked through the new Nova Scotia First Responders website that we're launching here today. The Couples Overcoming PTSD Every Day, or COPE program, helped us feel less isolated. Through it, we were able to connect with other couples who had been going through the same struggles. EAL, or Equine Assisted Learning, gave us tools to help us cope with the disruptions that come with PTSD. Jason finally had the supports in place to start his journey back to being a father, a husband, back to being and perhaps finding a new Jason. Thanks to the right programs and supports, I have my husband, and our children have their father. In fact, last year we added 1 more to our little family, and we've been blessed with a fresh start. Back in 2018, I was asked to take part in research to help inform the drafting of presumptive legislation, which added the benefit of presumption for many first responders who are diagnosed with PTSD. Being involved in those conversations and providing my feedback, I felt empowered to help make positive changes for other first responders like my husband. I was so passionate about helping that when our union was invited in 2019 to be represented on a first responders steering committee, I was tapped for participation. I am, after all, a fixer by nature. I wanted to help make improvements. I wanted to help everyone else who had or would struggle with PTSD. I knew firsthand how incredibly difficult it is to live with someone with PTSD. But if we could only bridge some of the extra obstacles, we could allow a person to focus on their care and recovery. Maybe it wouldn't have to be someone's last shift. Maybe we could work to prevent traumatic stress injuries, recognize the symptoms, and offer good interventions in time to make a difference. I will admit that when our committee first met, I kept hearing about stigma being the biggest obstacle. I disagreed, but I didn't speak up about how I felt. You see, not once did I feel shame about Jason's diagnosis. I saw no weakness in his character, that allowed this to happen. I was an open book to everyone about our journey because I hoped that our story could be helpful to others. I knew there was stigma, but in my personal experience, it was a lack of accessible resources and support that cost Jason his career. PTSD takes so much. As a paramedic, feeling helpless is probably the very definition of hell. Paramedics take charge of a situation and we take decisive action to limit the damage or cost of injury or illness. I describe living with PTSD in your home as if you live with a malevolent spirit. You can't see it, you can't reason with it, you can't predict it, and a lot of people still don't believe in it. Being on this first responder steering committee empowered me to make change. It gave me so much hope to look around the room and see so many gathered together from different emergency service occupations to work for a real change. Our first goal was to create this website, and I'm so very proud of this accomplishment. More recently, the work of this website, of this steering committee, has become even more personal for me. In June, I worked my last shift. I say this with great hope that it will not be my last shift ever, just my last shift for now. I had been experiencing anxiety, lack of sleep, severe mood swings, brain fog, and flashbacks. All of those symptoms screamed, "Get help." I knew better, but I ignored all of them. It wasn't until I could no longer stand to play with my 16-month-old that I knew I needed to get help right away. Instead of the usual sense of joy, being around her made me feel afraid and sad. I felt myself looking for excuses to just not be with her. As I mentally prepared for my shift the next day, pushing down the anxiety of what I might face on that shift, I looked at my beautiful daughter and I questioned myself. How can I love her so much and not want to be with her? I now agree that stigma is the greatest challenge, but not in the context that I had initially thought of it. I had thought it was stigma from others that caused people not to seek help. For me at least, it was a self-imposed stigma. I was the self-care queen. I preached to so many that there is no shame and that we need to support each other. I taught a paramedic program for 6 years, and I lectured each and every student so many times that psychological injuries could strike anyone, anytime, and it wasn't a reflection of a person's ability, knowledge, or character that determined who it would be. I say again that not once did I judge my husband, nor feel shame. But when I was staring at the reality that I was unwell, that I needed help, and most likely was dealing with the same beast as Jason, I felt shame, failure, and fear. Here I was with all of this knowledge and experience with PTSD, and now I have it. How could I have let this happen? All of the people I tried to help, would they trust me if I couldn't even protect myself? Despite the challenges I was facing, I continued in my role with the First Responder Steering Committee, and I know I used this word many times already, but it is the most succinct. It empowered me. It gave me something to hold on to. Sticking with it meant that I could still be part of the solution. I have to say that my experience being diagnosed with PTSD has been far better than my husband's. I called my health and wellness representative and told her I could not report to work the next day. She helped me navigate the process of applying for benefits and was always accessible. I was assessed within a few weeks, and once I was diagnosed, my claim was approved. I've received excellent care from my provider, and both my caseworker at WCB and my health and wellness rep have been supportive and helpful. I see the improvements, and I'm so very hopeful. I'm hopeful because I know there is still much to do, but PTSD is no longer hiding in the shadows. My husband has always allowed me to share our story, as I'm sure he understands the importance to me of turning something so deeply painful into an instrument of positive change. I have always admired his quiet strength. My own diagnosis has given me greater insight into what it must have taken for him to fight his way back. Jason, you are my hero. Words cannot express the depth of my love and appreciation. This website we are launching today is to support all of the Jasons out there. It will also help the people who love and care for those who are struggling, to provide help, relief, and direct support. It will reassure people that they are not failures. They are injured. Most importantly, it will let first responders know that they are never alone. I think this website is a great start. I'm also looking forward to our continued collaboration and to being a part of any new initiatives we tackle together. Thank you.